Round 1 of the 2021 DMR Championship in Supercross 4 took place last weekend. I'm not sure what inspired it, but I decided to not only race 450s on the Sunday, but I also showed up and raced 250s on the Monday, and I plan on doing the rest of the series. The DMR series is a competitive racing series on PC. If you guys are actually interested in getting involved in these races, anyone can sign up and join, so I will actually leave all of the information and links that you guys need to get yourself signed up for the racing series down below in the description. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on how these racing events work. So there is a whole sign up process, and then the night actually kicks off with qualifying. Everybody gets put into qualifying lobbies, and your goal is to hit a hot lap. There are 2 qualifying sessions, and your fastest time between the 2 sessions is the time that counts. The top 24 times then advance on into the heat races. Everybody else that didn't get into the top 24 moves on to either the C main or the D main. Depending on how many people sign up is how many main events there are, so everyone that signs up gets to do a main event and get some track time, so that's pretty cool. Since we only have 12 rider gates, only 5 people advance out of the heat races, so the heat races are crazy in my opinion. Fighting for a top 5 against some of the top dogs in the series, like, it's nuts. I really wish we had 22 rider gates, but that's a story for another video. So if you're not in top 5 in the heat race, you then move on to the LCQ, and in that last chance qualifier, only the top 2 move on to the main event. So if you finish top 5 in the heat race or top 2 in that LCQ, you actually move on to the A main. Everybody else out of those top 24 times goes to the B main. Now, this was my first race back in the competitive scene in a while. I've been out of the game for some time now. I don't think I've done like any competitive racing in any moto game since like the Reflex days. It's kind of crazy. It's like full circle now, because I actually used to race a ton with the DMR boys back in the day, back in the good old Reflex days, and now here we are on Supercross 4. It's fun to be back at it. The first night of racing 450s went way better than I expected, especially because I've barely played on 450s in this game. Like, I just wasn't prepared to hop in and race against the best of the best on the 450, and that's just facts. Although the night kind of fell apart on me, it was still a ton of fun. Definitely a learning process, and I feel like I came in way more prepared for the 250 night of racing, which will be next video. It is a whole new level of racing. So here today, guys, I'm about to recap the night of 450 racing from my perspective. Let's stop babbling and let's get into the recap. So guys, intro out of the way, I really wanted to come in and kind of break down the whole series thing, especially because a lot of you guys probably aren't familiar with the competitive scene, or maybe you are, but in reality I wasn't really sure how I'm going to do this video, so I'm still not. I'm kind of just going with the flow. It's gonna be a breakdown. We're gonna talk about the racing, I'm gonna show off some gameplay and show off the highlights of the night. I know you guys love the multiplayer videos, so if you guys love the competitive multiplayer videos, make sure to go down there, smash that thumbs up button for me. Let me know down below in the comments. Do you guys think Supercross should be in the esports scene? I personally think it would be really cool if we saw like factory teams getting involved and sponsoring riders and stuff like that. Esports in Supercross could be on a whole nother level. If you guys are new around here, click that subscribe button, and that is enough of the babbling. Let's get into the recap. Let's get into talking about the racing action. The track for the week is randomly picked just before the 450 night of racing kicks off. It was kind of just a coincidence that I was on Supercross 4 warming up for the night of racing on Salt Lake City round 17, and that's the track that got picked. I think that little stroke of luck kind of helped me out for the night, because going into qualifying, I was a little bit more prepared. I mean, I literally finished practicing on Salt Lake City round 17. That's the track that got picked, and we went into qualifying. And I knew it would be pretty easy for me to hit a lap time in the 54-second range, so that was really my goal. Both sessions, I wanted to hit a 54-second lap time. Since there wasn't actually the qualifying mode in the game at the time of this event, which I believe they have updated the game and qualifying in multiplayer is now a thing, I really wanted to see if I could be down in that 54-second range consistently, and I even ended up running a 53.83 for a lap time. So that was actually my fastest lap across the 2 qualifying sessions. In qualifying session 2, I hit a 54.7, so still right on target, right where I wanted to be. Now that 53.83 for a lap time, that was in session 1, and when everything was kind of getting set up for the heat races, that 53-second lap time got missed. So that was technically my fastest lap, but I qualified into the top 24 with a 54.7 for a lap time. That was my fastest lap from session number 2. I wasn't really too concerned. I wasn't about to go be like, hey, you missed my lap time. The only thing that was kind of a setback, I think, was that heat 2 was absolutely stacked. The 54.7 put me into heat 2. If that 53.83 for a lap time got counted, I believe I actually would have been in heat 1, which would have given me a little bit of a better shot at being in the top 5 and moving on from the heat race into that main event. So that brings us to the first gate drop, my first competitive gate drop back in the scene. The heat races are short. I knew it was about to be a fight, a battle to the end, and I wanted to just get out there and ride smart. So right from the get-go, right from the gate drop, I was trying to just play it smart, pick some smart lines, and I don't think it really paid off. I ended up just at the back of the pack. After all of the first lap chaos went down, I actually found myself chilling in a solid P7, 7th place behind the main McChicken. At this point, I just wanted to be consistent. I managed to kind of work my way up from the back of the field just because some of the other guys ended up making some mistakes, and I knew there were a bunch of fast guys out front, so the odds of me actually catching up and passing those guys was pretty slim. All I could hope was that I hit some clean laps and the guys in front of me make some mistakes and I get up into that transfer spot. I knew this wasn't about to last because Kimison was behind me. The man, the myth, the legend. Arguably the fastest man on stock tracks on PC. He is just on another level. So I knew the odds of me getting up into that top 5 were just getting more and more slim as the race went on. And the last few laps of the heat actually ended up being a dogfight, straight war with Spud, Kimison, and Pedrin.
There's a spot on that jump that it pops you up a little bit higher. Last lap.
I was actually in a transfer spot for a little bit, and then disaster struck. The last lap just kind of fell apart on me, and I could not get into a flow. I made one little mistake, and that was like the whole lap down the drain. I came over the Supercross triple with Pedrin, and I kind of made a mistake allowing him to get by, and then when we came out of the corner, it was a racing incident. We bumped into each other, and I ended up in the tough blocks. And I feel like that last lap of the heat race, even though there's a lot of racing left in the night, I feel like that's when my night kind of started to fall apart. My night kind of took a turn for the worst, and I truly started to live up to the Goonzig name. Like, the true Goon came out from here on. So it was then time to take a trip to the LCQ. Now I went into the LCQ ready to ride smart. I was prepared and I just wanted to avoid the chaos. I knew I could hit clean laps. It was just time to focus up and do it. Somehow, some way, I actually ended up with the early lead, and it was me and Pedrin out front battling for a few laps actually. We were going back and forth. I was out front for a bit, and then I made a mistake. He got by and I was pressuring him. There were 3 of us up front, and we were kind of pulling away from the pack. So at that point, I realized I should just kind of ride consistent and hope that someone else makes a mistake. Obviously, I didn't want to fall out of that top 2, but in an LCQ, I really think riding smart and playing smart is half of the battle. So we were approaching the 2 lap to go mark, and the leader actually ended up making a mistake. I gotta say, the pressure was on. When you start thinking about like, man, I gotta be in that top 2, the pressure gets to you, the nerves start going. And that's exactly why I just wanted to ride consistent. I was hoping someone else would just make a mistake and give me that transfer spot. I never actually fell out of a transfer spot, but Pedrin going down out front definitely kind of solidified that P2 for me. At this point, it was just me and 21 Cactus out front. We were cruising for the last 2 laps. My goon riding came out, and it was funny. Me and 21 Cactus actually talked a little bit after the LCQ, and on these last 2 laps, I think both of us were just thinking like, man, don't take each other out. Don't do anything dumb. We were both in the transfer spots in that top 2. We just needed to cruise on home. At that point, being in the transfer spot, I wasn't going to try and push it and do anything dumb to try and get into first. I don't think it was worth it. I just wanted to get into that A main. I had a brutal last lap, and I guess coming from that disastrous end to the heat race into the LCQ, I did kind of, you know, pull up the pants, pull out my A game, and come out swinging. So the LCQ kind of went good, and then on the last lap, it fell apart. I had a brutal last lap, looped my Larry going into the whoop. All I could picture was it being the last lap and falling out of that transfer spot. So I was in full panic mode when I went down. I was happy with P2, and we were moving on to the A main. Now you guys gotta realize, going into this A main, I go from really just playing the game for fun, playing against the AI, really just goofing around and playing it to enjoy it, to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, playing against the fastest guys on PC in a competitive race. Like, I feel like those are 2 totally different sides of the spectrum here. So I was not prepared. I had like no confidence going into this gate drop at all. I was just happy to be there racing with some of the best players out there on PC, and I wanted to cause no issues. I didn't want to get in the way. I didn't want to be taking anyone out. I don't want to be that guy out there causing issues. So I think you can see that right off the start. Like, I'm super hesitant, and I don't even charge into the first corner. I just kind of stayed back and did my own thing. I did manage to get up into the field and have some good battles for the first few laps. I think battles in the competitive scene are on a totally another level, and the more competitive races that I do, the more comfortable I'm gonna be in these battles. So I think it's really just a time thing. You gotta be on the top of your game every single lap in these races. With 15 minutes left in the race, I was battling with Triptez, one of the guys behind the DMR series. One of the organizers, actually an old face back from the Reflex days. It was fun to be battling with Triptez because we've definitely had some battles on Reflex back when Reflex races were a thing. Now mid-battle, we were going through the rhythm section and I blew this one corner before the Supercross triple. I literally remember doing it too. Mid-race, blow the corner, miss the Supercross triple, and that's kind of when my main event fell apart. That was the moment moment that started the disaster. From there, it just kind of snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. I tried to fight back and stay in the battle, but I literally just couldn't stay consistent for the life of me. There were $1 million on the line for me to stay consistent. Not a chance. I was not doing it in that main event. At this point in the race, McChicken and Kimson were out front battling, and I knew they were going to be coming up to lap me pretty early on in the main, so I just didn't want to be a Dean Wilson out there, and I just didn't want to get in the way of the leader's battle. Stay out of the way. Like I said, I want no issues in these races. Then I think going on into kind of like the end of the main event, the first race jitters were starting to lift, the nerves were kind of starting to go away. It's crazy that like racing in a video game can get you as nervous as racing in real life. Once again, practice makes perfect, and I think it is just going to take some time to get used to the competitive racing scene, and yeah. Time, man. Time is key. I think I started to calm down and ride the way I should have been riding the whole entire main event. I ended up hitting a 53.832 near the end of the race, so that's on pace with my qualifying lap time. And your boy Goonzik ended up coming across the finish line in 10th place on the night. I was the last player that was still actually in the lobby. Everyone else had issues. Weedy, I think, decided to update his drivers like mid race night. He's one of the fastest guys out there, and yeah, he didn't end up racing the main event, so that's that. And I think it was Viz that just disconnected. He was like, I was so far behind, I said peace out, and that's how I felt. But you never give up, even if you ride around in last place, am I right? I had the slowest A main lap, which isn't something to be proud of, but we were in that A main. I learned a ton. I know what I need to work on, and I think that's one thing that these competitive races are actually going to be really good for, helping me improve and learn to get better, work on little things that are actually going to make me a better rider in the game. I need to start hitting some faster laps and being very, very consistent while doing so. So yeah, back to the drawing board, back to the test track, I guess, and yeah, it's gonna be a long season. I think the goal is to just kind of avoid C main, be in that top 24 every single week. That way, no matter what goes down in the heat or the LCQ, you're in the B main no matter what. All in all though, it was a killer night of racing, and I actually had a blast back in the competitive scene. It is truly a whole nother level of racing. Like, it does not compare to racing against the AI. Obviously, right? I think from here on, I'll be more prepared for the rest of the season, especially the 250 round, and I am ready to get my feet wet with the top dogs on PC, battling the best of the best. To end it off, I just gotta give a shout out to the DMR boys for putting on the series, hosting, and doing everything behind the scenes. It's a lot of work to organize these events, and I think the event organizers always go kind of unnoticed, if that's the right word. I feel like they don't get the recognition that they deserve, especially with the amount of work that goes into putting on these events. I believe that Triptez is the one kind of behind the scenes doing all the work for the 450 class, and then Xena is the one doing all the work for the 250 class. So shout out to the DMR boys. Of course, these series races would not be possible without the people running them. Once again, I will leave all of the information for the race series. If you guys do want to get involved, down below in the description, there will be links and all the info that you need. If you guys did enjoy, smash that thumbs up button for me. It would be greatly appreciated, and we're going to be recapping the 250 round next, which was a lot better. 250 hero class, man. That's it. That's all. Stay tuned, guys. Peace out.